All right, everyone. So we just talked about, how to set up P5 for yourself. Let's talk about functions, right? And now I know we've talked about functions before. Pretty much a lot of the stuff we've done using like the circle function, like, circle, right? X, Y diameter, right? Or square, X, Y diameter, right? The circle is a function, right? It makes a circle. The square is a function, or square parentheses is a function. What does it do? It makes a square, right? And we've talked a lot of different functions. We did create canvas that creates a canvas. We did fill, that's a function. What does it do? It sets a fill color. We did things like random, which chooses a random number. What other functions did we talk about? Even like basically, like I didn't really want to get into it. Function and draw are functions, right? They don't add two numbers together. They don't like build a circle, but they have not to define something with itself. They have a function or a purpose. Their job is the setup runs when the program starts and the draw runs continuously as a loop. Um, Now, the thing about all of this stuff that we've done, like fill, create canvas, circle, square, in the last module, we talked about event handlers and things like that. They're all defined in P5, like the library. Okay. So if you went to P5.js and you went to reference, this literally is like a list of, they're not all functions, but like 90% of them are functions, and what they do is they perform a task. And this is written into the P5 code. So for instance, like here's a function called set alpha. What does it do? It sets the alpha of your document. And actually, if I were to go inside of, the P5 file here, I bet you I could find that. What was it? What was it? Alpha? Set alpha? Set alpha. Okay. So, they are setting the out, they're creating a function called set alpha. Actually, this is setting the page. This is where it's actually setting things. Yeah, here it is, method. Yeah. Color prototype set alpha equals function new alpha. So it's like, this is all stuff that literally comes in the P5 library, right? But what if I want to have a function that doesn't exist in the P5 library currently? What if I want to, you guys are smart enough, and you guys are skilled enough now that you can like make your own functions, right? So we can actually write our own functions in programming. Okay. So the first thing we're going to learn is how to call a function. And then I'm going to teach you guys how to build your own function. Okay. So function or setup and draw are built into P5. Okay. You can look at the documentation for it. I decided to build my own functions here. One's called say hello and one's called say goodbye. Okay. And we are going, I'm going to run this function. Okay. Now, the way we run a function, whether it's part of P5 or whether it's our own function, is to say the name of the function and use parentheses. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into setup. This first function is called say hello. And what this does is, at this point, you guys should hope, let's do a little Blackboard coding. What is happening here is, remember that this is what starts off, right? So it's going to create a canvas. It's going to set it to a gray. It's going to say, hey, we're going to run the say hello function. Now, in this case, the say hello function does not exist in the P5 library, whether it's you have a copy of it or using the online version of it, doesn't matter. It doesn't exist there. So what your program is going to do is look through the rest of the code for a function called say hello. And then this is the name of the function. So this is basically telling it to go here. It's going to go, oh, okay, here's the say hello function. This is what we do. In this case, all it does is print some text to the console. When it gets to the end of the function, it goes back to the next line. Okay, so it's kind of like this game of like, ground, and then back. So it's like, okay, comes here, does whatever's inside that function, and then goes back to the next line. Let's try this out, make sure it works. I'm going to hit open. Now you're not going to see this say hello. The reason why is when we print to the console, I know in the online editor, you can see the console in your page. Normally that's not how a browser works though. But what you could do is if you're running Chrome or Firefox, you can do an inspect. And there should be an area called console, and that is the console, and it says hello. Okay. And that's exactly what's happening here. Now, when you run a function, it runs it once. If you want to run a function multiple times, like this, I can do that. Now, let's see what's happening here. Let's do a little Blackboard code. We know that hopefully by this point that, okay, setup is the first area of the code that's going to launch. We make a canvas, we make it gray. It does this. It goes down, does all the code, goes back, right? Then it hits this and it's like, oh, let's do it again. So then it goes down, does all the code, comes back. Oh, do it again, goes down, comes back. At least for now, that's the end of the setup function. So, then it would go to the draw. So what it should do, and it will do, is it's going to print the phrase, say hello 3 times. And if I go back, hello, hello, hello. Okay. If I want to run another function, I can do that. Just say the name. So maybe I'm going to have it run the say hello function once. And then I'm going to have it say goodbye. Okay. All right. Once again, let's zoom out a little bit so we can see this. Let's do a little Blackboard coding. We start here. We make a canvas. That's just literally the area we can put content onto if we want to. We give it that background color of gray. It does this. It goes here, does the function, comes back. Oh, then we asked it to do it again. So it does there, comes back. Then it says to say goodbye. So the thing about this is, once again, the say goodbye function doesn't exist in the P5 library. It's my own custom function. So then it goes back and it looks for it, does everything here, comes back. Oh, got to go there, do it there. And then that's it. Okay. Oops. All right. So what should happen here, and I believe it will, is it will run the function. It will run the say hello function twice, and then it's going to run the say goodbye function twice. So it should say hello, hello, goodbye, goodbye. Insert Beatles song reference here. Hello, hello. You say hello, I say goodbye. This video is going to get taken down for copyright infringement of a song. Anyway, so this goes through, and then there you go. All right. Now, I'm going to get rid of this for now. And remember that the setup function runs once, right? What happens? Let's think about this for a second. And I'm not going to say it immediately because I want you to pause the video or whatever. I'm going to do this. Say hello. Okay. And I want you to think about, before I explain it, what do you think is going to happen? I want you to think about this, okay? Don't just fast forward because you're trying to get through this video. All right, I'm going to pause. I'm frozen in Carbonite. All right, let's think about this. So what does this do? Makes a canvas. What does this do? Gives it a background color of like a dark gray. Great. Okay. Now we know that the draw function constantly loops forever. Now, technically you can stop that, but by default though, that's what happens. Okay. So draw frame 1. This is frame 1. Say hello, goes there, prints that, goes back. This is frame 2. Oh, do it again. Print, say hello, or I keep saying say hello. It just prints hello, not say hello. All right, does it again. Oh, go run the hello function, does it again, goes back, 3, 4, 5, blah, 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 blah. So in other words, what it's going to do is just keep running the phrase say hello. That's it. I don't have any if statements or anything else that's going to stop it from doing that. So it's really just going to run the phrase hello forever, essentially, until the program, stops. So let's go back and I'm going to refresh. And you can see that this is the number of times that hello is being run. Okay. All right. So that's a little basics about how to run a function. Okay. Now you've done this before, but there were always functions that were actually built into P5. This is a function. These are functions that are not defaultly built into P5. I created them. You can create your own. Speaking of that, let's make our own function. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make a function called my name. Okay. So you guys are going to make your own function that doesn't exist in P5. How do we do that? Well, if you want to make your own function, we write the word function. By the way, I forgot to mention this. Magic. Okay. Sorry about that. I forgot to really mention why we would want to make our own function. Here I was trying to explain how to make it. I was jumping the gun, so to speak. Why do we want to make our own functions? Well, the answer to that is rather than doing something multiple times, a lot of times in life we have shortcuts, right? And what I mean by that is if you're inside Microsoft Word or TextEdit or something, we all know at this point, or most of us know, that instead of going to edit, copy, edit, paste, we can do Command Control C, Command Control V, right? Or a lot of programs have a Command Q or a Control Q to quit a program, right? At the end of the day, what really is that? Well, that's a shortcut, right? Rather than having to go to, if I wanted to go to here and hit quit, I can do that. But you can notice there's a shortcut key, right? And in theory, since most people their hands are already on the keyboard, it's faster, right? So that's kind of the point of a function is rather than me having to rewrite code many times, it might be easier to create a function that is a block of code, and then we run that block of code many times. So for instance, I'm just going to do one really quickly. Let's just say for the sake of argument, I'm trying to make, I don't know. I want to make, what do I want to make? I just want to print the phrase, hello world. My name is David. My favorite color is red. Okay. So right now, if I were to do this does it once. Let's just say for the sake of argument, I couldn't think of a good example that wasn't more complicated, but let's just say for this argument, I want to say it 10 times. Currently, the only really way to do this would be to literally copy and paste the code 10 times. I don't even know if I did it 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Insert count from Sesame Street laugh. Okay. And now if I were to run this like that, it does work, but it was really really inefficient. You know what I mean? I literally had to copy and paste the code 10 times. Now this is only so I added a lot of code here. Okay. And a better way to do this, and by better, I mean more efficient and takes up less code or literal lines of code, is I could build my own function. And then I could copy this and then run the hello function or whatever I called it 10 times. And actually, there's even a better way to do it instead of me doing it 10 times, but that includes what's called a a for loop, and we haven't gotten there yet, but there's even a better way than what I'm doing right now. All in due time, all in due time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Sounds good. And so you can see I'm getting the same result, right? But I actually am using a lot less code. It still takes up some space, I'm not going to lie, but it's a lot less space, right? And so this is actually considered more efficient. It's like it's like a keyboard shortcut, if you will, or anything else, right? Like, I don't know, there's a lot of interactions where, like, rather than doing one thing, we just like hit a button. Think about playing video games, right? When you are playing a video game, and for instance, maybe you shoot a gun, all you do is usually hit a key on your keyboard, right? In real life, you can't just shoot a gun that way. You have to like load it and point it and hit the trigger and all the sort of stuff that goes along. But we don't have time for that in a game. Instead, we just hit one button, and that's kind of a shortcut for the whole thing, right? That's kind of like what we're doing. It's like, rather than having to rewrite all of this code, we are just kind of repeating it. Okay. Now, I did that. I should have put that in the video beginning. Oops, sorry. Maybe I'll edit it. Probably not, because I'm lazy. But let's write our own function. Okay, so how do we write a function? Well, the first thing we do is we literally write the word function. Function defines in JavaScript that you are making a function. Okay. Functions must have a name. Okay. You can call it whatever you want. There are a couple of naming convention things, as almost always there is in programming. No spaces. It is case sensitive, which means, uppercase A is different than lowercase a. No special characters. What's a special character? Glad you asked. That would be like $, all this good stuff, right? Can't start with a number. So I'm just going to make a function called my name, okay? Like this. Also, when you define a function, you need to put parentheses at the end. This is for what we call parameters. Even if you don't have parameters, you're still required to have it, at least in JavaScript anyway. One thing I'm going to talk about, this is not required, but this is something you're going to notice when you look at a lot of JavaScript and other programming languages. There's something because I can't have spaces in the names of my naming conventions, like the name of the function here, or this also is the same for variables and things like that. If you have something that's multiple words, rather than doing it like, my name, because we're not allowed to have spaces, I could put a hyphen, although that's another common practice that a lot of programmers use. You're not required to do this, but you will notice that a lot of other programmers do this. And if you are planning on becoming a professional programmer, you probably should do it, because other programmers will expect that you're going to do it this way. Like, it's not like illegal to not do it, but everyone else does it, kind of thing. And of course, you must always conform. That was sarcasm. But anyway, we would do what's called camel casing. And what that means is that if you have multiple words, you put them all together, but you make the first letter of the next word capitalize. Okay. So instead of my name like this, it would be my name, capital N. Okay. Or if there's multiple words, like, I don't know, let's say it's my favorite color, it would be my favorite color. Okay, this is technically one word. There's no spaces in it, but it's easy for people to read and tell that there are multiple identifying words in it, essentially. Okay. So once again, you don't have to do this. It's not illegal, but it will, your code will still work even if you don't do it this way. But you will notice that many other programmers do it this way. And if you are working with other people, they may want you to do it this way because it just keeps it consistent. All right. I made my function. This is my code block, the area where it's going to do whatever is in this function. I'm just going to, for now, let's just keep it simple. And I'm going to say print, my name is David. Okay. So let's kind of recap what we did here. I made a function called my name. I defined what the function does, which in this case, all it does is print some text. Okay, I'm going to run this. And if I go look in the browser here, you're not going to see anything. Why is that? Well, we have a function, but we didn't call it. Okay, this is kind of like when we did CSS and it was like we would create IDs and never use them, or classes. It's like if you make it but you don't use it, it doesn't matter that you made it. You know what I mean? And so if I want my function to run, we have to call it. So how am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to call my function here my name. Okay, we just talked about how functions work. This is going to, we start here. This creates the canvas. This gives it that gray background. This is, this is saying, hey, there's a function. The browser or the JavaScript console is going to be like, oh, this isn't part of the P5 library. So I'm going to have to go find it, and it's going to go find it, run the code, which is this, and then come back. Okay. So if I come back and I run it, boom, my name is David. Okay. Let's just say I want to repeat this function 3 times. I just repeat it like this 3 times, 1, or that's 2, I should say, but you know what I mean. Do as I say, not as I do. So, what's going to happen? It's going to run the function 1. It's going to run the function twice. It's going to run the function 3 times. There you go. Okay. Let's make another function, because making functions is fun. I'm going to make a function that says what my favorite color is, because why not? So function, favorite color. I don't, whatever you want to do. Make sure. So once again, I called it like, I define it function. By the way, it's lowercase f. If you use uppercase here, it will not work. This is not considered the naming convention. This is the literal term we're giving it. I'm calling it favorite color. Make sure you have the parentheses there. What does my function do? Well, my favorite color is blue. All right. Let's go back and rerun this. And once again, you're not going to see that text appear. And that's because I created the function, but I didn't run it. Okay. So I have to make sure to run my function that I just created. So favorite color. Oops, make sure you spell it. If you're in Visual Studio Code, a lot of times when you say the name of a function, it'll actually kind of pop up because it can kind of automatically read what you're doing. So you might want to take advantage of that just to save a little time. So what this does is, it's going to run this 1, 2, 3. Then it's going to go, oh, look, we have a new function called favorite color. This isn't part of the P5 library, so it must be somewhere in the code. It has to be, otherwise you're going to get an error message, and it's going to be like, dude, what is this? I don't know what this is. And it should run this. Okay. Let's say I want to run it twice. All right. So I made a function, and I ran it twice. Now, let's just say let's say I was kind of careless. I kind of went through and deleted all this code, whoops, but I left this part, right? This is actually going to cause an error message or a bug. And you can kind of see why, because it's like, we're telling it to go find this function, because favorite color doesn't exist in P5. It doesn't, it's not part of the default JavaScript. So we're saying, hey, there's this function called favorite color, and then the browser's looking for it, and it's like, dude, there's no function by that name. I don't know what to tell. You're asking it to do something, except it doesn't know what to do because there's no instructions on what to do. You know what I mean? So it's like that's just going to cause problems. I'm just going to get rid of the second one because and if I run it, uncaught in promise, reference error, favorite color is not defined. And so what that means is dude, there's no favorite color function. I can't run it because you've never said what it is. You know what I mean? If I gave you a task, but I never told you what the task is, I'm like, go run task 45. And you're like, what's task? I don't know what task 45 is. Like, you got to tell me what that is. That's kind of what this is. It's like the browser doesn't know what favorite color is, so it can't do anything. You know what I mean? And then it runs this problem. So always make sure that you have your function and that you're calling it correctly. Okay. Otherwise, if you call a function that doesn't exist, you're going to get an error message. Let's just fix that. I brought it back. All is right with the world. Boom, we're happy. All right, and then here in exercise 6, this is just more practice of seeing that you can run a function multiple times. So I have a function called greeting. It's being called here. So once again, let's do a little Blackboard code. We create a canvas, we give it a background, we run this function. Hey, let's run this function and come back. So it should run it once. That's what's happening here. So I'm going to save and then run it. Oops, wrong page. Let's write the right page. There we go. Inspect console. Hello there. So friendly. I want to run this multiple times. Greeting. Greeting. There we go. Make sure it's spelled correctly. Save. So now it should run 3 times. Okay. So this is the basics of creating and running functions. You create a function, write it, call it. You can call it many times. Just make sure when you call it, everything is, syntaxically correct. Okay.